zone.
Do,
We're
do,
in the
do, do,
zone.
do,
In the
do,
zone.
do.
In the zone.
Um, we have a jingle. It plays at the end. I don't know if anyone ever makes it that far. I used to play it at the beginning,
Mm,
but I don't.
mm.
Do you remember watching television and there'd be like probably when you were a kid, you know,
Ooh,
way
that
before
hurts.
shots
That
fired.
hurts.
When
Yeah.
you were a child, the theme songs I bet were really long. They told like the whole story of, like Jane, his wife, his
I
boy.
mean, you're
Oh.
inferring the Brady Bunch, which was still in reruns when
That
I
was the
watched it.
Jetsons. That was the Jetsons.
Oh, yeah, but I mean that thing started in the '60s. Meet George Jetson, dun dun. But I mean the Brady Bunch, the Jetsons, yes,
Here's a
those were all,
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
lovely lady,
And
yeah,
then, but then
yeah.
later on, I feel like there were still, when I was a kid, they would have those long theme songs. And then as you became familiar with the characters in the show, they would just get into it faster, get into it faster. And now, they're just like, they'll have a cold
Hmm.
open and then they'll just be like, boom, like
Yeah,
title of the
yeah,
show. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think like Full House was definitely one of the last of the full-on like song, like a whole painful, like you had to like listen to this
Okay.
whole song,
Was
and
it
then it would be
painful?
like the song ends.
Did you not like the Full House theme?
I think Full House came out, and I was just getting, I think I was probably Heath's age now, and I was kind of like, yeah, I'm over this. Like, and
Yeah.
I watched a lot of TV,
Yeah.
and I think by the time Full House rolled in, I was just like, it was so corny and tame. My mom was enamored by it. She loved the babies. She loved like, and what was funny too is in her accent she'd be like, "Oh, it's baby Michael," and I'm like, "Have you like twisted it into some South Asian dialect? Like it's Michelle." God, you're embarrassing me watching Full House.
Yeah. Let me ask
I
you. Let
like
me ask you a
Family
question.
Matters. That
Yeah.
was
Oh,
pretty
it's a good
good.
one. Yeah.
That was a good one.
I
Spin
think
off
the
of Perfect
same
Stranger.
guy
Yeah.
did that theme song. There was a whole thing about the guy who did all these theme songs.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
just some guy. Was it
Uh,
Duncan Sheik? As
I
as we've
wish.
come as we've come to learn later, Duncan Sheik has found new opportunities beyond that one-hit wonder song that I've become enamored with lately. Just so into it.
Okay, this is right.
Um,
The Full House, Family Matters, Step by Step, and Perfect Strangers theme songs were all written by the same artist, Jesse Frederick.
That tracks because technically Family Matters was a spin-off of Perfect Strangers.
Okay.
In the loosest way possible. It's like, let's explore the family life of the security guard at the Chicago Tribune. I mean, that's pretty much where that one came. Huge Bronson Pinchot fan. It's funny. You kind of have some Bronson Pinchot vibes.
Thanks.
But I'm thinking about True Romance, not like some
Oh,
sort of like ha ha ha. I'm from Mipos,
okay.
and all that. And I was thinking, yeah, that'd be a good role for you. If they
All right.
redid True Romance, I would absolutely vote for you to be Bronson Pinchot's character.
Thanks. I've
Uh,
never seen it, but I'd like to.
it's excellent. I feel like I'm in a renaissance of Quentin Tarantino movies right now. Like I kind of like it was like the Coen brothers. It was like I get it. I've seen a few of these movies and they just keep making them and making
Mm.
them and making them. But then I kind of started to look at the later stuff. Not even just the Kill Bill, but like Hateful Eight, did Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was excellent. But it's just he makes entertaining movies. He makes really entertaining movies. And that's what being a dad's about. Speaking of big, perfect segue, big thing happened last night. As you know, Happy Gilmore 2 is out. I was shocked to find out that Happy Gilmore 2 is not getting a theatrical release. It's just straight up on Netflix. What an era we're in. But more importantly, my son was like, yeah, let's watch this, but I haven't seen the first one. So what did we do last night, Neil? Like at frickin' 11 p.m., because it is summer, we watched the original Happy Gilmore.
Mm.
And he was much like his encounters with Dr. Evil, Austin Powers. I mean, this kid laughed on cue, like a laugh track, like an audience plant. Like it was really. I was telling my wife this morning, I was like, it was a real joy to watch, his, 13, almost 14-year-old humor just be absolutely serviced to the nines. Like that alone was quite nice. And then I found out she'd never watched Happy Gilmore. Apparently, she's not a Sandler fan. I don't know. I don't know.
When you say your wife is not an Adam Sandler fan, do you mean she's just not an enthusiast, or like, oh, I am not a fan? She's anti-Sandler.
I no, I don't think it's that strong. I think it's more annoyed. Like, and to be honest, knowing her, like, I could see how she was like, I'm not. I mean, like, let's be honest about the lion's share of this work, like how he landed. I mean, it almost makes Opera Man seem more sophisticated, but Billy Madison. I mean, even when he did the Punch Drunk Love movie, that was still kind of built on him having this character that was essentially prone to violence, but it was like lovable. But he was basically a goon. Felt like he was like kind of an East Coast goon. I like Sandler. Loved Uncut Gems, actually. That was just an oddly fascinating world. I was super into it. I don't know if you saw that one.
I did not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have Sandler topical fodder for you. Months later, after it appeared on Netflix, we finally watched the Conan O'Brien Mark Twain Prize ceremony, which was great. Really, really great. And Adam Sandler pays a tribute and is pretty hilarious.
Oh, really? Check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting when, like, you see these people truly evolve. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch Happy Gilmore now, you literally can see a guy who's like, you could almost feel like he's breaking character, like he's laughing at the moment of the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's far from sophisticated. I mean, it's a legendary movie but at the same time, when you rewatch it, you're like, wow. I mean, honestly, when I watch Happy Gilmore, my big thought is, I'm gonna finish my screenplay. Like, if that's a screenplay, I can definitely write mine. It was empowering, and I want to thank Adam Sandler, certainly Lorne, for giving me that belief in myself.
I don't
That
think
I'm
it's
like,
the Lorne. I don't think Lorne had anything to do with the film.
I feel like Lorne has a piece of everything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But I don't know that for sure. It's just my assumption.
Isaac, will you fact check whether Lorne has a piece of any Happy Madison? Thank you.
The real truth about World's Greatest Dad is that we really just want to talk about, like, movies and TV and stuff.
I know.
But, like, that's, dads do that.
It's not hooky enough. No one would come, Just another movie podcast, but another dad podcast. Now we're talking. Cha-ching. I mean, come on. That's where the money is. Fatherhood.
It's true. I'm banking on my entire future career on that, really. But again, I will say this, getting back to it, an absolute joy watching your kids see movies that you remember growing up on. And it's just funny because it's like the new era. Like when we had AJ on, and he was like, I'm watching Star Wars, and it's like, oh wow, it's magical, Yoda, E.T., all that kind of stuff. But now we're getting into, like, adolescent humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Talk
ready
to
for
me. Talk to me when you
Brothers.
guys watch American Pie together. I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's weird. I kind of missed out on all of that. When American Pie came out, I had just much like Full House. I wasn't 12, but I was 22, and I was like, I don't feel like seeing this movie. I don't know. But
You didn't
yeah, I
want to see a
know.
bunch of high schoolers lose their virginity.
Yeah, it's like
It's a little weird.
Porky's.
It's a little
Yeah,
weird.
well, I mean, like, I had other things to do, I guess.
Yeah.
I think those high school movies are great when you're in high school or about to hit high school. That's when you're like, oh yeah, this is what I want out of life. I graduated college. I was like, been there, done that.
You're full adult.
You
Yeah. Well, it's a good
Yeah.
segue because you're talking about a formative time in someone's life where you're not quite a child. I mean, you're still technically legally a child, but not quite an adult. That transitional period, puberty, adolescence,
Yeah.
they call it.
Yeah.
And this is a dad podcast. We source news
Indeed.
from all over the universe, typically the internet universe, sometimes IRL. We see things, we hear things. You want to find us in the world, you stop us, you tell us something about being a dad. Give us feedback. We're open. Or just write a mean comment on TikTok. We are here. But we came across this thing. Now, you have a son, a 13-year-old son. I've got a 7-year-old daughter, an almost 5-year-old son. And so this is maybe something I'm sure I will experience if, the human body continues to work the way that it does. But we watched a video in 5th grade. All the boys were in a room, and then all the girls, we were sent out, and then the girls came into the room to learn about their changing bodies. And anyway, long story longer, this dad on Reddit, on Daddit. You ever go on Daddit? It's the dad Reddit.
Whoa, no, right that one
By way of
down.
Newsweek picked up this story from Reddit. But yeah, so this dad, the headline was this, Ollie. Dad shuts down 12-year-old daughter's period party. Internet agrees. Here's the summary. Ready? A dad posted on Reddit. You know these "Am I the Asshole" forums? The format. Am I the asshole? So he's relaying his story and saying, "Hey, everybody, give me feedback. Am I the asshole?" So this dad said, "Hey, I'm 43. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. She confided in me after getting her first period. He was supportive, respectful of her privacy. How can I help? This isn't my world, but I'm your dad and I'm here for you." His
Sure.
wife came home.
Mm.
She immediately began planning a period party, which is a thing.
Mm.
Despite the daughter saying, "I do not want this. Nope, 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 nope." The wife
Oh,
insisted
got
that
it.
she said this is an important milestone. All right. She went ahead with planning the party anyway.
Mm.
And the dad got involved, shut the party down, physically blocked her from forcing the daughter to have to attend this. Then him and his wife are getting into it. His wife accused him of undermining her parenting, embarrassing her in front of the other moms she invited. And so this dad's relaying this story. And what do you think the internet said?
Wow. I mean, I'm glued. Definitely gonna get on Daddit. What do I think the internet said? I mean, I'm sure it was a big divide, like I wouldn't be surprised if it fell along certain lines. I mean, I think the best way for me to approach this is I'm not a girl dad, and I'm male, so a lot of this is just kind of like, wow, that's a thing to deal with. I honestly, I almost look at this the way some people who don't have children hear me talk about my kid. It's just a world I don't know, and it's just things that, yeah, I'm just kind of like, I'm absorbing, I'm absorbing, and on that point, to that point, Neil, I'm just here to absorb and really see where the comments are gonna take this. I'm gonna
You
just sit
said
back and
absorb a
enjoy it.
few times. I think I know what you're trying to get a brand sponsor. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But here's what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
You are incorrect. The internet was not divided, Ali. They picked a side, and this side was very clearly in favor
Of the
of the
party.
dad.
Oh.
Um, and here's why. People were saying, "Hey, yes, it's a milestone, but it's her milestone, not the mom's. It's her body. These are boundaries she wanted enforced, and your job as a parent is to protect those boundaries and listen to your child, and also respect her privacy. Maybe she didn't want all the other moms in the neighborhood to know, despite
Yeah.
people wanting to celebrate it for her." There was also commentary that the mom really put the dad in an awkward position now because he's between supporting his wife or supporting his kid. And despite whatever the mother's good intentions were or may have been, that this had gone sorely awry. Commenters said the following. This is kind of like a roundup of there was a lot of comments, but Newsweek did the real journalist aggregated them for me, so I'm going to read a few. Commenters said, puberty's an awkward, embarrassing time. Having your parents shine a spotlight on every confusing milestone would be a nightmare. Another commenter said, your wife wanted the period party, not your daughter. This was your wife trying to gain social points with her friends, using your daughter as a prop for her little empowerment show. And then this social worker told Newsweek, they got a comment from a real expert. Social worker Krista Walker said, this is a good example of how a parent's expectations are clashing with their child's boundaries. What a euphemism, you know?
Yes. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'll add this in there as well. Like, you know, part of me is like, you know, what the way we frankly view our bodies, the way we, you know, don't necessarily talk about certain things. I found it to a degree intriguing that there was this concept of celebration around this, you know, generally speaking, I'm not taking a position against the person who's going through this, aka the daughter. The other big thing, this is where it gets real, is just hearing that thing like you're undermining my parenting. I mean, that is one of the biggest things with being a parent, is ultimately realizing that you don't always see eye to eye with your partner. And by the way, not everything has to be like a pitchfork battle of like line in the sand. You know what I mean? Like, but it's just, that is one of those things that like, that's the real, you know, where you're like, wow, you know, how does one deal with a division, a break in the front lines, if you will? And that's, yeah, that's something to absorb. I'm not one to kind of like push a big agenda. I tend to avoid conflict and things like that. But I have found this scenario has played out, generally speaking, where, you have a parent, partner at odds with the child. And then it's like, okay, like, you know, here's what's crazy. Are you on the side of your partner or the child? And to even have that fractured element, that's I'm just saying, that's the real, that's the tough, you know. Yeah. Welcome to World's Greatest Dad Podcast, where I'm literally like, I don't know what to do. I just want to bring that up because I think that is something really big. Just hearing those words from your partner, you're undermining my parenting, you know. I did hear that the other day. The context was I was allowing the dog to get up on the bed. So that's how I wiggled out of that one. But I did hear that the other day. And yeah, Maximus, he started to make moves and jump on the bed. And I was told, you're undermining my parenting.
You were undermining your wife's dog parenting?
Yes, that would be correct. Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think about that, by the way? The people who say I'm a dog mom, I'm a dog dad. What are your thoughts as a dad to a biological human? I'm not tipping my hand. Just what are your thoughts on dog mom, dog dad?
It really comes down to this. It's nothing to do with the dog. It's all about that person, and it's, in my opinion, it's all about acknowledging that there are adults who are of that childbearing era where maybe it's expected to be like, oh, are you married? Do you have kids? You know, that pressure's there. And the answers are no to some of those questions. And I think it's just a pressure, you know? And I think when people say that, they're like, I'm just exerting my own value. But I think it is about a person ultimately trying to fit in a world where they're expected to have children, you know, like, yeah, you know, that's my big thing there, you know. Is raising a dog the same as raising a child? No, but I don't think it's about that. I think what it's about is the pressures people have when maybe the assumption is, oh, you don't have kids, you know. That's where I think that really comes from, you know?
Are you saying that people who refer to themselves as dog moms or dog dads are doing it out of an insecurity or an expectation to kind of keep up with society, or is it a kind of FU? Like, I'm also a parental figure to someone.
Uh, my experience with it is more the former than the latter. I mean, I'll also say this. Do I, as much as I enjoy the idea of Portlandia type characters, believe me, Neil, in real life, I wouldn't really be around these people. You know what I mean? I'd be like, she's nuts. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Is like, I like making the cat lady joke, but I don't want to actually deal with the actual cat lady.
Mm.
But I will say, I think, yeah, I could think about a person very specifically, and they have brought it up, and they brought it up in a way to essentially counter. We were on a group text message, and the messages were like, Happy Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day. You know what I mean? It was all that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, I think this person just, essentially was like, I'm feeling like, yeah, I think that's what's real, like, yeah, I mean, are there people who think their pets have an importance or bear complexities to a human being? I'm sure there are, but I see the side I see are people who are like, yeah, just have this pressure. I mean, I think that's like a real thing, it's a real thing, and Lord knows, as we know as parents, like it's weird. It's like being a parent and having a kid is like something that's like, yeah, I'm in the club, but at the same time, I'm in a club, but it ain't always a party. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. It's funny. It's like I feel like the badge of honor of being a parent is just simply like attempting to, you know, raise that person and be responsible for that person. But I think on the outside looking in, to be fair, I think there is, a little bit of longing through the window. You're looking through the old shop glass and you're like, ooh, sure would like to have that for Christmas. Look at Ali Khan's life. Man, he looks like he has it all. How do you like that? How do you like those answers?
You said a lot. You said
Empathy.
a lot.
Empathy was in there. I think empathy. And a little bit of like Dickensian kind of. I painted a Dickensian picture of someone out in the cold, looking in at the rising capitalist society of 19th century.
Dickensian, that's what that's like for Dick's Sporting Goods. Like it's very
totally. I mean, premium stuff. You're at the nice mall. There's a Shake Shack. The cleats are. I mean, the cleats start at $75. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. The Dickensian Sporting Goods store.
Something about Dick's Sporting Goods, in this digital age that just always gets me, and maybe I'm just not a mature person, is that their URL is dicks.com. I mean, and they were just like, yeah, like, I mean, this is a business that's probably existed for a century.
Are you getting me to write something offensive in my web browser? Because I think you are. Was that a trick?
It is a joke that my wife and I have made to each other over the years about, this fictional couple that we've created. Sometimes we do bits of a husband who gets caught. Honey, I was just trying to buy some footballs and new cleats. And I was trying to get to dicks.com, and all of a sudden this other image came up. And I am so sorry. And it's juvenile and it's silly, and I apologize to anyone listening.
That is not the website. The website is dicksportinggoods.com. You tricky person. Thank God.
I thought it was. Is it really not dicks.com?
What is wrong with you?
All right, well.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's literally, I am looking at it, HTTPS, Dick's.
So now I feel like we are actually doing a public service for some listeners.
I mean, to each their own, Neil, to each their own.
Yeah.
But if you want to get a really expensive soccer ball, you're going to have to go to dicksportinggoods.com. Good luck spelling that out. The S's get confusing.
Yeah, they should have, Not let Dix.com expire. Should have held on to
You,
that that
I had
site.
one of the most realist moments when I realized, oh my God, I live in Texas. I went to a Dick's Sporting Goods. This was 10 years ago. It's at the very nice mall at the Domain. There's a Shake Shack there. It's an outdoor mall. There's a Neiman
Mm.
Marcus. There's a Design Within Reach or out of
Yeah.
reach, depending on how you float your boat. I went there, and there was a guy there. And he had, I mean, he literally, he could have, honestly, like, the guy looks like if I was floating through TikTok, I'd be like, hey, look, it's an IDF soldier, German Shepherd, desert, I mean, a huge pistol. Like, he was, you know, like dressed up. You know what I mean? And his German Shepherd had a harness on it, and it said, do not pet. You know, do not pet. So he was just, in case had any issues, don't go up to this guy and his dog. And he just had this big old holstered, like, gun. And I don't know, like, look, I've played video games, I've seen movies and stuff like that. This thing looked like, like a friend of Jason Bourne's gun. Like this thing was a frickin' hand cannon, you know. And I was just like, wow, the hell were you getting golf clubs? Like, I don't understand why you had to do that. But that was my big real moment of being in Texas. Yeah. Yeah. Open carry. Open carry.
Got it. Real quick, just to button up this period party thing that we started with. So, the dad, you can go back into a post and edit and give an update. So he gave some updates. The updates are as follows. A lot of people were telling him to divorce his wife for this.
Whoa.
He will not be doing that. He maintains he's very in love with his wife. He also explained some context that was not in the original post, which is, I guess, that his wife grew up in a home where she was kind of neglected, and she felt like she wanted to give an acknowledgement to something that she never had, because it's such a meaningful moment, and so she, according to the poster, her heart really was in the right place, despite not listening to her daughter's wishes. He also told the internet that his daughter was really icing his wife out. And she said, I think she hates me now, but that after a few days, they started to smooth things over and talk again. And if nothing else, he feels like now he has forged a little bit of a bridge and trust with his daughter, and she can come to him with more things. And that's the update. So I guess he's not the asshole after all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, it is crazy, though. Talk about one of those big epic moments, could, I don't want to say define childhood, seems a little dramatic, but big milestone, and not just because of, her having her period, but, for the first time, but like the fallout, if you will, from it all. And, yeah, and also that was all aired, I mean, to a degree, in a public forum. It's kind of funny how much people want to not only have something to say about this, but then to also like level like type of like judgment, and then almost like a judge, true judgment. Like we're ready for sentencing. I'm like, seriously, we're just getting into this story right now.
To be fair, isn't that what he came to the internet for? He said, am I the asshole? He wanted the feedback.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I just, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm a little more measured than others. You know what I mean? But hey, I haven't been on this thread, so I need to jump into Daddit. So it's separate from Reddit, or is it a subreddit?
Subreddit. Yeah.
Great.
Called Daddit, I believe.
Very excited.
Anyways,
for this one.
so now that we've come full circle, this episode is brought to you by Tampax. Tampax, where you need it, it's there. Heavy flow, light flow, feeling the flow, let's flow. Tampax.
Economical and also okay for sensitive skin.
Yeah. Have they ever done an ad campaign where a dad goes to buy tampons for his daughter, I feel like that would be a very emotional, like Super Bowl ad that I'd like to see.
That's I think a great campaign. I'm reminded of a Macaulay Culkin post where he posted on Twitter. This
Mm.
was, recent years, probably in the last 10. And I think he said something like, "This is weird because it sounds like he's like going, 'Aren't I great?'" And it was a far more, I think, more interesting, charming thing than the way I'm saying
Uh,
it. But he goes, "Love is going to like, I don't know, a pharmacy, store at 11 p.m. to get your partner like tampons and something else. I don't know, donuts or something like that." But he was just, being a partner, and getting that stuff. And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." Macaulay Culkin. He ain't home alone. I'll tell you that
yeah.
much. He's
But
got someone
he
at
has
home.
it. He does have a history of going to stores alone to shop. So
He does. Touche. Touche. At what point did Kieran Culkin really become the Culkin?
it's a great question. I'm gonna say sometime within the last 5 years. With the
Yeah.
HBO show.
Yeah, I guess that's all it takes, right? I am
Just
one.
one Emmy Award winning, groundbreaking HBO series. That's it.
I mean,
That's all
how
you
many
need.
times have I heard that? Groundbreaking Emmy Award winning HBO series.
Hmm.
Groundbreaking Emmy Award winning HBO series.
It's ridiculous.
On and on and on and
It's
on and
enough.
on with Kieran Culkin. Yeah, I guess you're right. You really are exactly your last W. And here's the world's greatest dad podcast. This is
Mm.
my W right now
Hmm.
because it has a W in it.
Yeah. Well, uh, what else? What else? What else? What else?
You had a
Okay.
big hot question for me. I'm ready.
Yeah. So, got another one for you. Uh, and this is quite possibly more controversial. But it is, you know, about parenting, and that is what we do here, is we talk
Yeah,
about parenting
definitely.
and ask people questions and see if we can figure anything out. And if we don't, all right, well, whatever. We're in the same spot we were, right? Like, what are they going to do? Take our kids away? I mean, I guess they could, but hopefully not because of the podcast, unless we say something incriminating. But hey, we're just talking about news. Anyways, let's get to this article. So, it was in the Wall Street Journal. Here's a thing. I don't subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, but I know how to get around paywalls. So I read the whole thing, baby.
Uh huh.
And
Uh
it's
huh.
called Goodbye Gentle Parenting. So
Mm.
we've talked about gentle parenting before. I'm sure we will again. Everyone thinks that millennial parents are soft, that Gen Z is even softer, that the discipline that was drilled into children for the last 100 years, thousands of years, honor thy mother and father, has gone to the wayside. That kids are getting to do whatever they want. And there are parents who are lashing out. There's a backlash to the gentle parenting philosophy, the movement. And who else would cover it? But of course, the capitalist uh, mega company that is the Wall Street Journal. And so,
Mm.
anyway, Goodbye Gentle Parenting is the headline. Here's how it starts. Ready? Carla Dillon tried lots of different ways to discipline her rambunctious 13-year-old, including making him write the same contrite sentence 100 times. But when he sprayed her with a water gun at a campground after she asked him not to, she saw only one option. She threw him in the pond, clothes and all. Quote, some of the best lessons in life are the hard ones, she said. The internet calls it FAFO, short for fuck around and find out. Child rearing style that elevates consequences over the gentle parenting method that have helped shape Gen Z. FAFO, often pronounced FAFO, is based on the idea that parents can ask and warn, but if a child breaks the rules, mom and dad aren't standing in the way of the repercussions. Won't bring your raincoat? Walk home in the downpour. Didn't feel like having lasagna for dinner? Survive until breakfast. Left your toy on the floor again? Go find it in the trash under the lasagna you didn't eat.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, so fuck around, find out parenting. The counterbalance to gentle parenting. This is the thesis. I've got some thoughts,
Mm.
but I did a lot of speaking. I want to hear your thoughts.
My thoughts on FAFO. You know what? I think it just comes down to this. Like, ultimately, you gotta, if you're gonna talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. And I'm a weak person. I don't like confrontation. I mean, maybe weak. Maybe in me saying I'm weak actually shows my actual strength, Neil. But yeah, I'm a weak person. I'm not really going to be the one who's going to lay down that kind of like super hardcore discipline. I have found that, you know, FAFO is interesting because you can also just admit that part of that is here's the consequence. You will draw your own conclusion. And I think that whenever we are going through stuff where our kid is misbehaving or it's just not going right, at least I found this. He's still here. He hasn't gone to jail. He's a remarkably, good, disciplined kid who knows right or wrong. He'll definitely test the limits here. But, when we hit an impasse, like, eventually we all come back to going, you know what? I want this to work out. I think that is the running theme in our family. So I think FAFO does exist for me, but it also doesn't manifest in the old tossing into the pond. Yeah, that's my thought there is, find out is kind of the thing. Right? Well, let's see what happens if we go down this road. Is this what we really want? And I think for us, it's like, yeah, you want the awkwardness to end. You want things to be good and happy again. So that's my thought on it. It's just that the way we get there isn't actually tossing anyone into the pond, but this is just this house. This is what I'm equipped to do.
Yeah. It brings to mind for me, I think several of those examples, make sense. This is what dinner is. We've given you the option. You don't want to eat it. Let's wait till breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to wear your raincoat. You'll get a little wet. I understand that. Throwing someone into a body of water feels, I would say, like a non-proportional response to being squirted with a water gun. That said, I don't know the buildup of frustration with the not listening, but still, I can't really find a justification for pushing someone in the pool with their clothes on,
I would
let alone
say
your child.
I would say if I had to look at I was looking at the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. But if you want to get into the letter of the law,
Yeah.
definitely with the lasagna thing, it'll be like, well, this is what dinner is. I feel like what happens is eventually we find a better place. You know what I mean? Like, well, he'll end up getting fed. But it's just like, okay, that just is what it is. Yeah, like not going to not capitulating right away. Like, oh, let me make something else for you in the moment. It's like, nah, that's not good in the long run or whatever, right? But yeah, the even if it was more proportionate, right? So, oh, you squirted me with a water gun. I'll squirt you with a water gun. I don't think that is the way to demonstrate ideal behavior as an adult who has experiences and, has something to teach anyone. That's just going, oh, well, I'm going to do it to you since you did it to me. That's what a sibling does, and arguably a sibling that's not much older or perhaps younger. But then to kind of go further into your scenario of tossing someone in a pond, even at any age, but certainly there's some stuff that would call for absolute intervention by law enforcement. So yeah, the toss in the pond is almost hard for me to take seriously, because there's such a big thing. But generally speaking, like, it does feel retaliatory, and I don't think that's what parents should be doing. And look, I'm gonna say it. There are times where, in my lesser moments, where I haven't tossed Heath in the pond. But, like, I've responded in a way that felt more like it was retaliatory versus teaching. And, easier said than done when you're actually in the moment and whatnot. But I'll tell you, in the end of the day, retaliatory never really solved any problems. So, yeah, there's a big distinct difference between going, okay, these are the consequences of your actions. It may feel a little harsh, but this is the choice you made. Or going, oh yeah? Well, I'm going to do it to you, Neil. See how you like it. In fact, I'm going to one-up you, and I'm going to toss you in a pond that's scummy with frogs and catskills and whatever the heck else Mark Twain would describe as in a pond.
Yeah.
So dumb.
I think for me, part of the, you mentioned the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. And I do think, especially with kids and parenting, you do have to get really specific. It's really hard with these broad philosophies. And I'll give you one example. Another example from the article. John Wellington, I guess he's a stand-up comedian from South Carolina. He talks about remembering when he was a kid and him and his brother would misbehave, and he, quote, they had to stare into each other's eyes while their parents simultaneously spanked them. And so he hardly thinks it's excessive that he makes his high school daughter go to color guard practice even after she realized she hates it. And he said, in the real world, you commit to a loan or a car payment or a house payment or even a marriage, you have to finish that thing until it's over with. And he said he paid for his daughter to join the color guard, and so she's going to finish it out. So, a couple things. We're similar in the sense of, like, if we sign up for an activity, we make our kids do it. You committed to this. We paid for it, and we made the commitment, and we're not going to show that you can just bail. That said, you don't have to sign up next season. We'll talk about it. We'll readdress, right? I do take issue with John Wellington's assessment that you commit to something and you're in it for life. I mean, sure, that's what you say on the mayor. Has he heard of divorce? Come on, John Wellington. Have you? Get out of here. But so there's that take, which I think is fairly reasonable. You commit to something. You want to teach your kids, like, this is what commitment is, and these things aren't free, right? I'm sorry you don't like it. Maybe you'll learn to like it. Maybe you won't. You can quit at the end of the year or the end of the semester, right? But then there is the other side of the extreme. I would venture to say the pushing in the pool side. And there's a clinical psychologist named Andrea Mata. So she has a webinar called "Gentle Parenting Doesn't Work," and she practices what they're calling her own version of FAFO. So this clinical child psychologist, Andrea Mata, said that recently her 8-year-old son kept having accidents in what Mata thought was the boy intentionally disregarding the urge to go to the bathroom during a fun activity. And after multiple attempts to correct it, she told the boy to take his allowance and buy himself new underwear. She later discovered the problem was related to a medical issue, which was resolved, and she has since apologized to him, but she didn't reimburse him since he'd lied about it and tried to cover it up. And she stands by the idea of repercussions when children intentionally fall short of expected behavior. I'll just say, Ollie, I am troubled that this woman is a doctor, and shamed her kid for having accidents. To me, that's not fuck around, find out parenting. That's shitty parenting. That's, I think you're being I think you are the asshole. She didn't ask, But if she were in the dad it, yeah, am I the asshole? I'd say, Andrea, I think you're the asshole here.
Look, it comes down to this. FAFO is this kind of fun, catchy way of going, oh yeah, there's consequences in life. But when you say there's consequences in life, that's kind of thoughtful and, you know, there's a little bit more to it to process, if you will. Fuck around and find out is this sense of immediacy of like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna nip this in the bud, you know, and kind of go that route. Also, to your point, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you're all that. In my opinion, you could still have skewed moral views. But I think at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, there's consequences, you know, like, and there's, you know, there's action, reaction. Like, there you go. You know, I think when people say FAFO, there's this frustration about, oh, you know, our current norms. And then the other big thing is this. Here's a news flash. Parenting's hard. Our values as a society change a little bit. We learn some more things. And no one ever said it was going to be easy. I think what's so funny about this stuff is it puts all the onus that it's all the kids' problem instead of like us getting around the fact that parenting's hard work. It's hard, you know. I mean, they'll also absolutely take the compliment. Oh, being a parent's a thankless job. Exactly, it's a thankless job. You're going to take some hits there, you know. Maybe you're reminded of how you were as a kid, but you know, I look at all of it when people have this thing of like, you know, FAFO or, you know, gentle parenting doesn't work. I'm reminded of a lesson I learned in life. I, you know, was brought up in an immigrant culture. My parents weren't as authoritarian as others. I had a friend growing up who had a very old school, stern dad. And he was someone who we would be hanging out in the basement and he would come down and he'd be like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you do that? Like, he would just come down and be like, oh, you're just hanging out in your room? No, there's work for you to do. You know? This guy was real old school. He came from a much sterner background. Happened to be from Afghanistan. But, you know, we can leave that lie for a bit. And I'll tell you, this is stuff that, you know, like my parents, that era, that generation, they didn't talk about parenting or anything. And I remember a couple years later, you know, as I was entering adulthood, my dad would say, oh yeah, the kids don't visit them anymore. I guess, you know, his name was Khan as well. He goes, well, you know, I think Dr. Khan was pretty harsh with them growing up. Okay. And like, yeah, like the kids never went back to see them during holidays and stuff like that. And then super sad, devastatingly sad, is the kid who was my age. He sadly took his own life. I remember I had a wedding reception with this whole like kind of South Asian community, a lot of my parents' friends or whatever. And I remember seeing him. He came up to me, and it's kind of funny, like a little awkward. We were serving alcohol. I had a few drinks. Very stark contrast to the cultural values of some of the people there. And I remember this guy stood there, and he just looked at me, and he stared in my eyes, and you know, didn't give two craps that, you know, like I had about 19 old fashions, a bunch of glasses around me. You know, I'm sure he was like thinking about his kid. You know, so I don't know. You know, like. Parenting's hard, and I just think about this. This is what I think about. I think about when are your kids gonna freaking grow up, and you know, and what's the relationship gonna be like? They're gonna go out there, they're gonna make their own choices, they're gonna learn all their lessons, they're gonna have totally not ideal, fucked up things that happen growing up, and it's really just about how much, you know, that relationship will develop between two adults. So yeah. FAFO goes both ways. FAFO for the parents one day when your kid's grown up too. And I guarantee you that doctor who did that little discipline, there's your FAFO right there. That's my big diatribe. But yeah, I had to unload on that one. Because I think it's just a little, you know what, parenting's hard. You don't get off. You don't get off so easy going, gentle parenting doesn't work. I'm gonna do this because it's a fast solution. Anyways, woo!
Well said.
I went
Ollie,
for it.
let's go to the mailbag.
Do it.
Mailbag. That'll just be like the placeholder. I'll get like a real jingle, right? But that's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mailbag. No. All right, Ollie. Scott from Florham Park, New Jersey writes, Ollie, my teenage daughter is on a moral crusade. She refuses to play Monopoly because it glorifies toxic capitalism. She won't use a smartphone because it was made in a sweatshop, and she says the police are part of a broken system. And yet, she lives rent-free in our home, enjoys our Wi-Fi powered by a massive tech monopoly, and she did call the police when her backpack got stolen at the mall. I actually admire her convictions, but it seems like she's stuck in this all-or-nothing thinking where everything is either corrupt or pure. I'm trying to teach her about nuance and compromise. She sees it as selling out. How do you help a passionate teen develop perspective without crushing their ideals or completely losing your own mind in the process?
Oh, the joys of being young and looking at things with absolutes. Well, to your point of perspective, I think she just maybe needs to get out of the old textbooks and the internet articles she's enamored with, absorbing all this information from, and jump into the old real world. Nothing like a little actual real world experience doing the old Peace Corps volunteering. I think, like, honestly, when you have these kinds of convictions, it's easy to talk the talk, harder to walk the walk, right? So walk the walk, though. I mean, I think that is important. Something that my wife really did growing up. She did a lot of, like, volunteer work, charity work, stuff like that, and that's a great way to actually, practice what you preach, get out there, see what's going on, and you'll start to realize like things are a little more nuanced. A lot of the solutions to these problems do have to fold into the current system we're in, which are, frankly, supported by for-profit companies. It's the world we're in. But yeah, I think a little real world, let's go volunteer, let's roll up our sleeves and give to the community is a great way to really practice what one's preaching without shaking anymore. Because you don't need to debate your kid. Your kid's smart. They see things. They see things that are actual legit problems. But you just got to take it a step further. Get out. Time to line up some volunteer activities. You know what I mean? Practice what you preach. Roll up the sleeves.
Like it. Let's do one more. Ollie, Frank from Providence writes, I think I screwed up. A while back, my family got food poisoning from this Thai place we love. My son swore he'd never eat from there again and said it traumatized him. Fair enough. But recently I ordered from there in secret because I just missed it too much. He ended up eating some leftovers, which I served him, without him realizing where it was from. He was totally fine until he found out. Now he says I betrayed his trust and that he can't believe I'd try to poison him again. I understand he's upset. I honestly didn't think it would blow up like this. How do I earn back his trust without making any family drama worse? Did I totally screw the pad thai on this one?
Jesus. Look, you just got to apologize. In the end of the day, like, if someone, you got to respect your kid's choice, that's it. That's all there is to it. And just say, hey, I'm not going to do it again. I, too, am someone who will absorb someone's culinary opinions and still remain steadfast and going, well, they're wrong, and I just need to feed them otherwise. But, at the end of the day, it's like they don't enjoy something, they had a bad experience, you just gotta let that one go. It's a great opportunity for you to go, I think I'm gonna go to that Thai place by yourself. Have a day, treat yourself. Treat yourself to that special meal. It's all good. Sometimes you can't bring the whole gang with you, but yeah, maybe they'll come around, maybe they won't. It just is what it is. I, as a food person who is very tied to making my kid like go, oh yeah, you got to try this or that. I've learned quickly that everyone has their own. We all are our own great food critic, and you just have to let that person. Yeah, you know what? It's a metaphor for raising your kid. You're raising your kid to what? Be what? A servant to you, or a forever dependent, or an independent free thinker who is willing to try other Southeast Asian cuisines, or even another Thai restaurant, if possible.
I think the paradox of, or the tough lesson for parents, right, is that a lot of parents want to raise their kids to be autonomous, independent thinkers who do what I say.
Yeah, I know. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. My God, I was right. Were you raised that way? Was your dad like, what are you doing? He's close to
You
falling in
know,
line.
we were definitely told about this line, which I mentioned earlier, honor thy mother and father. It's in this book, I guess, old book, still kicking. It was
Yeah.
like, that is a commandment,
Mm.
literally. I think it's nice to show respect to your elders. I know that my grandparents' MO was children should be seen and not heard. We were heard. But now my kids are even, they're whatever more than heard is, and that's a good thing, right? I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll switch to FAFO. No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel like one of the biggest things we realize we uh, unpack in this is how much we as a society have a different running of values. And what's crazy is like the kind of FAFO to me is, I'll be honest, I think it almost feels like it's a little like the MAGA thing, and that's a loaded statement, right? But even just the idea of, I remember when things were like this. I mean, to even like really dive into that, into MAGA being like, okay, you like this simpler time. I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna give you a little rope there, Ronnie from Covington, Delaware. I'm trying to think of just some random
Okay.
fictitious red county, but okay, sure. You had a perception. There was an era where things seemed more simple, but we learn things, and you realize that there are some deep complexities, and
Sure.
not everything can be tied up into a little
Yeah.
bow. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I accept that the world is simply getting more complicated,
Hmm.
and just doing my best to do what seems right with all the new information I'm getting.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding both sidesy, I think that the world is both much better than it was and much worse at the same time. And I do reject that, it was simpler time. For who? Like, in what way? And I think you've maybe said this before. I think really it's what we all grapple with, and part of it is parenting, again, both helps us find meaning and also realize that time is slipping away because we're watching growth in real time, as opposed to just kind of living in like 72 in sunny LA without kids and just being like, every day is the same. That movie Palm Springs. That was Palm Springs, not LA. But no, I think that it's just we're watching time slip away and the way things were. And I think actually Tommy Avalone put it great when he was talking about Fuddruckers, and that it's not necessarily high cuisine, but it's the closest he's come to time travel, right? Like
Mm.
tasting his childhood. And I think that's what people are looking for. They're looking to taste their childhood, and that's why they voted for that fascist asshole. Who I'm not, you don't know who I'm talking about. You have no idea. It could be anyone. I have
Totally.
not declared my political proclivities, so all I said was fascist asshole. If you think someone's a fascist asshole, you decide who I'm talking about. Hmm?
Yeah.
How about that for a Rorschach test?
There you go. There it is. The way he did bring up Fuddruckers just completely changed how I look at it. And I'm someone who grew up going to Fuddruckers, going, man,
Mhm.
this, because there was a time when I had it, I was like, man, this is like really good. Like the bun's really good, the burger's huge. And then you build it up in your mind, and then I remember having it later, and you're like, yeah, I'm better than this. Like this was good when I was 14. It was 91. It was good for me then. I've kind of outgrown it. But then to hear him talk about it, it's like, oh, that's so cool. Like, and therein lies something like it's you know, for whatever reason, some people want to go back in time because it brings them joy. Not one to take away from someone having that joy, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Maybe what we need is more what we want. What we need as a society is an overextended sitcom opener and just more ads, more manicured perfect commercials versus these TikTok testimonials, It's too real. It's too raw, Neil. I need some Miller Boyette sitcom,
Copy.
you
You want a
know.
creative director on social media. You don't like the raw user generated stuff.
Well, it seems like that's what we want. We I
I
think
don't know.
maybe that's my new thing. That's my new manipulator. Neil, I think I'm just gonna start saying we, and that'll rope everyone in into me.
Mhm.
That's what it is. We turns into me. We, Kathy, I feel like that's like how the vice president is. Man, what a pod. What when it's just the
Hey,
two of
Ollie,
us,
before I let
it's
you go,
crazy. Yeah.
what's Dad cooking? This is a new segment. Hold on, wait, ready?
Yeah.
What's Dad cooking? What's Dad cooking?
I'm very, very excited, Neil. I just got my grill, wasn't working. Now it's back online. I've got the itch to make my ribs again. It's something that ever since I got a smoker, I've been mastering it. I kind of got to a place where I'm like, okay, I've got a good version, but it takes a lot of hours to do. And then I've been talking to a lot of barbecue chefs really over the last year, and a number of them have been describing a new method where they're like, oh, we just cook it hot and fast. And there's a certain very, very basic, just salt and pepper rub. And so I'm going to try a new method. I've been doing kind of new tinkering. I've been exploring not so much recipes, but methods. Like, okay, I like this food. Is there another way to make this that maybe is even better or simpler or both? So I'm gonna try the hot and fast method. I'm gonna make some ribs this summer. That's what's coming. That's what's coming.
Will you share the results?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got some already. I've got like 50 different ideas in there about how to like make this thing work out. I mean, like I live in the freaking. Arguably, it's the urban barbecue capital of really America. There's just last 15, 20 years, all these barbecue places have exploded here, and then that style's exploded everywhere else. So honestly, in some ways, it makes zero sense for me to make barbecue. Like I can just go buy it, and it'll be really, really good. I'll get my fix. And even if it's quote cheaper for me to make at home, you don't need much. You know what I mean? You get a little barbecue plate, $20, maybe 30, and you're fine. You should be. It should scratch the itch, but that's not being a dad. A dad is holding the tongs at the grill, going, "I made this." And the funny thing is, my family would be like, "Yeah, it's fine, I guess." I mean, it's really just my own mountain to climb. But yeah, I'm gonna make ribs. I'm gonna make hot and fast Texas style barbecue ribs. It makes me hungry thinking about it.
Enjoy. I'll see you
Hmm.
next week.